Hey everyone, and welcome back to the SCREENY. Considering that Dr. Phil has been on air since 2002, you'd have thought that he might be past his prime. But time and time again, the big man comes back with more episodes to knock our socks off. When it comes to dealing with sensitive issues, anything could happen at any time. These guests are emotionally charged and ready to pop. And if it's not them, then it's the doc himself. Join us as we take a look at the most insane moments in Dr. Phil history. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more amazing videos about your favorite movies and TV shows. Boot it out. In some cases, things go from bad to worse at the drop of a hat. Personal development coach Mike Bayer came onto the show to give some much-needed advice to a guest, but the situation soon deteriorated. One of the guests was really opening up to Bayer, beginning to cry as he explained how painful the situation was for him and how much he wanted his wife to stay by his side. In another chair, an opposing guest found it hilarious, smiling as he tried to hold in the laughter. What a douche, right? If you laugh at someone else's obvious pain, you're the worst type of human. Eagle-eyed Dr. Phil quickly spotted the smirking gent and stamped his attitude out, interrupting the guest, pouring his heart out to throw the inconsiderate man off the stage. Security came over and told him to GTFO of the chair, escorting him to a position where he could be less of a nuisance. While the guy was wrong for doing what he did, we have to admit that the crying guest did come across as a little dramatic. And that's saying a lot, considering what we've seen on Dr. Phil in the past. Schooling dad. When it comes to violence, Phil has no time for it whatsoever, and rightly so. Throw violence towards kids into the mix, and you've got a daytime TV Molotov cocktail. This episode was insane on so many levels. A husband and wife went onto the show to talk about their out-of-control daughter, but it turned out they were just as abusive as she was. In the pre-show interview, the dad told the cameras that it felt good to hit his daughter when they got into an altercation. When it was played back, his wife looked stunned, telling Dr. Phil that she knew it sounded crazy. The dad tried to explain his reasons for saying that, telling the doc that he knew his actions were wrong, but at the time, it sort of felt good. How on earth could anyone, let alone a grown man, try to talk his way out of hitting a 16-year-old girl across the face? Further details emerged as it was revealed that the mom simply does as she's told and goes upstairs when her husband and daughter are arguing, leaving her child to defend herself against her dad's fiery temper and vice versa. Perhaps the most terrifying and insane part of it all was the way the father declared how many times he slapped his teenager in the face on national television. The doc told them in no uncertain terms that they would have all of their 8 children taken away from them if they carried on. Warring parents. Let's face it, when couples separate, it's not fun for anyone involved, especially if there are children right in the middle of it. Throw in some new spouses and you've got a recipe for disaster if things aren't handled in a mature way. The two couples went on to the show to air their differences as their child were stuck in the middle of this nasty custody battle. Rather than just get on with it for the sake of the kids and put their big girl pants on, the woman has become quite accustomed to cussing each other out in public places. While discussions got pretty heated on stage, the most jaw-dropping moments came when Phil showed a video clip of the women screaming at each other during a Little League game. The insults are so pathetic, with bitchy comments on the other's appearances, and basically one mom calling the other fat and hideous while she records it. Just out of shot are the poor kids who just wanted to play some ball. Honestly, how Looney Tunes can some people be? If you're not prepared to handle things like an adult, then maybe don't have kids in the first place. It might come as a shock, but you're supposed to put them first. Both of the women looked completely embarrassed and ashamed as Phil screamed at them in one of his finest TV rants yet. Facebook foes. We've seen a lot of crazy stuff over the years thanks to Dr. Phil and his merry band of producers, but these two were the best. In fact, they were so ridiculously off their rockers that it was hard for anyone to keep a straight face, including the audience. Aileen decided to sabotage her ex-BFF after she stole her man, but she went about it in a pretty cunning way. As well as cussing her out in public and dragging her name through the mud, she created a fake Facebook profile and began leaving insulting comments on every single one of Sandy's posts. There are several things about this episode that make us sit back in stupefied awe. 1. Why didn't Sandy just delete this person from her friends list? Even if she didn't know it was Aileen at first, if someone's calling you a fat heifer all over your page, then surely the first thing you would want to do is hit the unfriends button, right? 2. The comments were incredibly nasty, but also sort of hilarious. This type of depravity isn't seen on the show that often, so even Dr. Phil struggled to keep a straight face. 3. The way that these two women sat on stage staring at each other as if looks could kill is just the best thing ever. It really was one for the books. So if you haven't seen the whole thing yet, we highly recommend you grab some popcorn and feast your eyes on this nutty spectacle. Twitchy Mama. There's a lot of things that could cause someone to have a tremor, from neurological issues to PTSD, or they could just be a big fat faker. One daughter brought her mother onto the show, accusing her of faking her incredibly severe twitches and tremors. In the footage shot before the show, the mom is clearly shown pulling all sorts of faces that she can't seem to control, at one point slamming her hands over her mouth to try and get it to stop. She then holds out her hands to the camera to show how much they are shaking, but neither the doc or the daughter buy it. Phil comes right out and asks the woman what it's all about, and she crumbles under the pressure. We all know that McGraw brings out the honesty in a lot of people, whether they like it or not, and clearly twitching Trisha just couldn't hold out. In a surprising turnaround, she openly admitted that 90% of it was just for show, and that she wanted attention from all those around her so badly that she continued to do it. Can you imagine being outed as a dastardly liar on national television? What's more, Phil went on to reveal the reason that she had lost the job with a charity, which was because she was being investigated for putting her hand in the cookie jar and misappropriating funds. Damning DEBRA. It's not uncommon for moms and daughters-in-law not to get along. Hell, there are so many jokes about it that it's not even funny anymore. Unfortunately for DEBRA and her son's wife, the situation was dire. When trying to defend herself from the allegations, Mommy Dearest started to blame the show, saying that the interview footage had been manipulated to make her look bad. Phil is fiercely protective over his integrity and the practices of his staff, so he wasn't about to take that lying down. I mean, who goes on the Dr. Phil show and thinks it's a good idea to start bad-mouthing everything about it on stage? You're a risk-taker, DEBRA. And it didn't pay off. In possibly one of the best tellings off of all time, Phil calmly asks Ditzy Deb to explain herself and points him to exactly what was taken out of context. Mark jumped in when his mom started crying her crocodile tears and almost took over the show, telling his mom that they had to fix these unhealthy behaviors. Honestly, we don't know what's more shocking here. The fact that DEBRA thought she was going to get one up on Phil by trashing his work ethic, or the way that her son spoke more sense than the big man himself. DMX'S hairline bonding. Not every completely crackers moment on the show is because something bad is happening. Sometimes it can be laughable for the right reasons. Every now and then, the doc has a troubled celebrity on the show, usually when they're either trying to set the record straight or because they genuinely need help. Rapper DMX appeared with Phil in 2013 to talk about the numerous times he'd been arrested. 25 in total. Phil put a picture of one of his latest mugshots on the screen, and the charming rapper admitted that although he looked cracked out, he was as sober as a judge in that particular photo. He blamed his haggard appearance on the fact that he had a receding hairline and he hadn't shaved his head in the run-up to being arrested. The audience were tickled as the two men bonded over what it was like having no hair, with the hip-hop legend telling Phil to give up and just shave it all off. When the pair got into more serious stuff, it was revealed that DMX has 12 kids with 6 different women, prompting the doc to ask if he'd ever actually heard of birth control. Out of all the people to go on Dr. Phil, we never thought that it would be a person more famous for his gangster rap than heartfelt confessions, but it's definitely one to be remembered. Thank you very much for watching today's video. Make sure to subscribe to our channel for more amazing content, and don't forget to check out one of the other 2 videos on your screen.